Hello. Okay. Should be. Make sure my volume and everything is okay. Hello there. Let's talk about threads. We're here in Huntsville, Alabama. Bit of a rainy day. So we're gonna talk about some microblogging because it seems like that's the thing to talk about. But genuinely, it's something that I'm pretty excited about. I think the whole kind of social networking world right now is more exciting than it's been in the past, like, I don't know, decade and a half, since like 2013, 2014. I guess it's not even a full decade, but um it's actually had some legitimate excitement, whereas it hasn't for a long time. And I've kind of been trying to keep my finger on the pulse of it because um it's a fun space, and I'm glad that there's a lot of excitement around the journalistic standpoint of it, the community standpoint of it. Um, there are political and ramifications in that realm and all that kind of stuff. So, um, you know, plain and simple, I think competition is always a good thing in technologies, the technology space especially, but when it comes to social media and these big tech monopolies, and you know the same companies have kind of continued to run things, and threads and things like that don't necessarily fix the issue. So you could argue that it's just another extension of a monopoly, but I'm of the opinion that while it is under the same umbrella as one of the biggest social media monopolies that we've ever seen, um, it will impact that market, that space, more than just another Meta product, another Instagram product, or whatever it is. And I legitimately think there should be a lot of excitement around threads. I know there's, a lot of folks have kind of wondered about the privacy implications and what kind of data they're collecting. And, oh, it's just another way for Facebook to serve you ads. And sure, yeah, that, if you don't want ad targeting and more data collection and all that kind of stuff, maybe threads isn't for you. But maybe social media is not really for you. I don't there's not really a way to actively participate in modern social media and um these modern platforms like that without you're submitting your data to them. It feels a more decentralized and federated way that I'm kind of going to touch on it eventually. Sure, maybe it's less. You're not necessarily signing up to give all this data to whatever whoever the company is. Um, but the data's still on the internet. The internet is still the internet's still the internet. Um, so I don't know. I think of it when with Twitter, when Elon was talking last week about adding these limitations and things like that because of data scraping and security and privacy and all that. That's all crap. Like that situation was all derived from literally not paying his bills, which is funny and infuriating kind of all at once. Essentially what happened was um, Twitter runs on Amazon Web Services, AWS, and Google Cloud. That's what their backend is, where all the data gets stored and all that kind of stuff, which a ton of big companies do. That's why those cloud services exist. Elon didn't pay the bill. They hadn't paid their storage bill for months, and as Google and Amazon know that they can't necessarily just cut it off, but they start to gradually allow for you to have less API calls and less data to be consumed in certain instances, especially during peak time and all that kind of stuff. So they Twitter would get deprioritized essentially from those services, so they couldn't have as much data coming through as they normally would. Well, that's why it was impacting the users. They were limiting how much you could see. But why did that happen? Because Elon fired all these people that knew how Twitter worked. Twitter had been having band-aids placed on it for years and years and years, and the people that knew what those band-aids did and which ones to pull and not to pull, he fired all of them. So eventually, sure, initially when everybody was kind of panicking, oh, Twitter's gonna break, all this kind of stuff, and then Elon said, oh, look, it didn't break. It's kind of breaking now, and not necessarily in the sense that, like, if you open the Twitter app, there's nothing there. Yeah, sure. From a minimum viable product, it is working. But the API is a disaster. Threading and threads, the way that things are threaded, and replies and all that kind of stuff, things are getting lost. It's just not a reliable product as it once was, which is really frustrating because there are so many basic fundamental features and functions that need to work just to have a reasonable experience. So I think all that is kind of all of that is one of the reasons why Threads has had some of the success that it's had. I mean, not some of the success, the crazy success that it's had over the last week. It's the reason that they rushed it a week to launch. It wasn't supposed to launch until next week. And then when there was just kind of displeasure between users and Twitter and Elon, they said, we got to get this thing out no matter kind of what the current state of it was. And the current state of it was as about as bare bones as it could be. And it still hit 70 million users in 3 days. See, it launched July 5th at 6 p.m. Here we are, July 8th at 2:13 p.m. So that's not even 3 full days. Going on almost 72 full hours, and they've hit 70 million users. Which is crazy from a scale standpoint. We got to keep in mind that Twitter's maximum user base, I think, is about 320 million total since it came out in 2007. So now it's easy to just kind of say, well, it's Instagram, so of course, yeah, they got the users, whatever. And that is true. It's very much early days, as they say, and a lot of this is people being excited in the moment. How much does this continue forward? I'm interested to see during football season, as NFL and college football kind of kick off in the next month and a half. Is a lot of that news and a lot of that information, a lot of those photos and videos and stuff, is that shared on Threads? Is that shared still on Twitter? There has been a lot of those types of like sports reporters, especially like NFL. I've seen a lot of the college reporters that I follow a good bit, or at least kind of cross posting. They're on Threads, but they're still posting on Twitter, which that's probably what I'm gonna have to like. I'm looking at Twitter right now for reasons that I'm going to get to in a minute about what Threads needs to improve in order to keep all those people that are really, really excited right now, to keep them excited in the kind of days and months to come. Because one of the biggest, there's been a lot of different periods of frustration with Twitter users over the last, 9 months since Elon, officially bought it in November. So there's been a lot of different periods of people being frustrated, and there hasn't necessarily been another company or another platform or another service to fully take hold of the user base, or to say, hey, we know you're mad, come over here. There wasn't a service that was ready at that point. And every point that there has been frustration and displeasure between the user base and Elon or Twitter as a whole, a lot of the time it's people saying, or the consensus kind of becomes, well, go to Mastodon. Most people weren't doing that. I did. I created an account. I'm not one to necessarily say I'm leaving this platform and I'm going to this one. I'll be on all the platforms. I'm not. I love having all the apps. I'm not one of those people that's like, oh, I'm not going to download another app. Who cares? I'm going to download an app and I'm going to make an account. Whatever. We're going to test it out. We're going to see what it's all about. So in those periods of time, yeah, I mean, I created accounts for everything that I could. Was on Mastodon, posted a lot there. I love what Mastodon represents, and I love the community. Obviously, you see on my video here, I've got my Mastodon tag right there. Wow, that's weird, but I'm gonna have to edit this now and add, make it my threads is the same as IG, but neither here nor there. There wasn't a viable product to turn to when people were frustrated with Twitter. And that's just fact of the matter. There wasn't anybody there. There were other small platforms, but the thing that Twitter has that others don't is grasp. Or I'm sorry. That's not necessarily the right word. The breadth of the people that they can cover and the types of the people that engage with Twitter are the ones that other people like me are coming to find. The people, the reporters, the less celebrities these days, but more news reporting, sports, those kind of things, tech. That's what I'm going to Twitter for, and the real-time news updates. So when another platform needs or is trying to take some of that steam away from Twitter, the biggest thing that was always missed, it's easy and not easy, but there are a million other apps or websites or services or whatever that are quote unquote microblogging platforms. There is a method to post a series of text or with photos or whatever to a number of users. The problem is that if those users aren't the people that you're interested in interacting with, then that service isn't really much good. So if you go somewhere like Mastodon, yeah, it's great. It works well. 500 characters, all these cool features, different servers with different moderation policies. All that's great. But when you tweet and none of the people that you care to get feedback from or to give feedback to are there, or even if you're more of a passive user and you're really just kind of consuming, and say you have, like the way that I use Twitter, you have a bunch of curated lists with, people, Alabama football reporters or the tech reporters of people that you like to follow. And that's the way that you kind of interact with that platform. If you go to a different platform, as great as it might be, you're going to end up kind of back on Twitter because that's where the people you care about are. And I don't know that there's any company that understands that kind of the people are the most important thing than Meta and Facebook and Zuckerberg in particular. Which is kind of one reason that I'm so excited about Threads, because look, Facebook's Facebook for a reason. Facebook had its time from, 2000, there was a decade between 2004 and 2014 until kind of the Cambridge Analytica stuff where Facebook was it. And then there were these derivatives kind of off of it. So it's not a matter of, there's a lot of, distrust with Mark Zuckerberg and Facebook and all that stuff. And I totally get all that. Like I'm on board, but it's not like he doesn't know what he's doing. And it's starting to get to the point where I am of the belief that Elon doesn't necessarily know what he's doing with Twitter. He doesn't. I think for a long time, I was a big admirer of Elon with what he was doing with Tesla, SpaceX, his past with PayPal, all these things that he's done. OpenAI, the thing that has turned into ChatGPT, and DALL-E, all these things. He was, part of the group that started all that. So it's not a matter of disliking Elon or not thinking that he's a smart guy. He's objectively brilliant. Like I'm not even gonna say he's a dumb person. He does dumb stuff, and I think with Twitter in particular, he's done a lot of things that I wouldn't necessarily do. But I also don't have billions of dollars to go buy, an entire social media network. So these are all just words. It doesn't matter. But all these decisions that have kind of continued to be made with Twitter, they just don't seem like they're in the best interest of its power users. I think, kind of some of the decisions they made around TweetDeck, obviously a lot of the decisions they made around the API and charging for it, limiting or really not even allowing any kind of third-party apps. I think there's a very large and passionate section of Twitter that really likes all of those things. I pretty much only used TweetDeck for Twitter. Easily was my favorite way to interact. It, you can see it here. I hope you're not putting anybody on blast. These are all, pretty public accounts, whatever. But the new TweetDeck is not great. It's fine, and that's really it. Is it's just fine. Prior to Elon buying Twitter, I thought when they announced that they were putting a lot more emphasis on TweetDeck, I was thrilled. Since then, I've changed my tone a little bit, especially since they've announced that it's going to be behind a paywall. So I don't like that. That's a bummer, and I just don't think I'm ever gonna subscribe to Twitter Blue. I don't know if putting TweetDeck behind a paywall and needing to be a Blue subscriber to get it is like the one thing that might make me do it. Which is unfortunate because I really have no desire to do that. But I just don't love the new TweetDeck. It's not great. It feels clunkier. I used to have a Chrome extension called Better TweetDeck that would kind of live over on top of TweetDeck and added all sorts of functionality. You could download, if there was a video in a tweet, you could download it right there. You didn't have to do anything crazy. And anyway, this has turned into just talking about my displeasure with Twitter. But I'm going to talk about now why I am excited about Threads. So I was pumped for Threads kind of for weeks leading up to this because I thought there's a lot of people on Instagram that are never going to use Twitter or never use any sort of text-based microblogging that would allow me to engage with them in that way. I think for me personally, I've found that type of social media, short text, discussions, engaging with people in that way, getting my thoughts out in, those types of chunks and being able to share things quickly like that. That's one of the ways that I really have enjoyed, using social media. I was never a huge Reddit fan. I didn't really even post a lot like on Facebook, but Twitter was always that quick kind of rapid, get a thought out, have a thread thread kind of keeps coming up, but have a string of thoughts that were, based on the same topic that would go out and then be able to interact that way. And there were a lot of people that were on Instagram that I just knew were never going to use Twitter or Tumblr or anything else that I was using. But I was always like, man, it'd be really cool if there was a way, and aside from just like sharing, tweets or copying and pasting things like that to Instagram as a story or whatever. Because I personally kind of got tired of seeing all these people that were always, they post 15 or 20 tweets in their Instagram story, but you can't interact with it in any way. You could respond to their story, but you can't click on the tweet and then go out anyway. It was a closed, interaction. There was no next step to take in terms of the actual content in the story or the tweet or whatever. So that was always, kind of a hope. And then once the idea of them doing it became more of a reality, that was very exciting. But it got really exciting for me when they announced that they were going to integrate with ActivityPub. And I still think it's quietly kind of one of the most exciting parts of a big company like Meta, Facebook, Instagram, whatever you want to call them, being involved with a microblogging Twitter competitor. Because ActivityPub is an open protocol, an open standard that Mastodon runs on, but all sorts of other services, federated services in the Fediverse use. And one of them being Mastodon. There's one called PixelFed that's kind of like an Instagram type application that runs on ActivityPub. And it's just very exciting because essentially what it does is allows for a set of tools, a protocol that allows for text, video, uh, images, likes, reactions, responses, all those types of kind of basic fundamental pieces of what you see in social networking in an open protocol that allows interoperability and communication. So right now, I wish I had a graphic or something that I could use, but you imagine I've got a Mastodon account where I typically, I'll post a bunch of text or whatever. But then say somebody else has a PixelFed account where they post a bunch of really cool pictures, but I'm not necessarily going to join PixelFed, but I do want to see their stuff. Well, my Mastodon account is, as you can see, Pete Brown at mastodon.social. That's kind of mastodon.social is the main Mastodon server. So that's where that account lives. And then you could look at, say their account is Jimmy at pixelfed.com. Okay, well, on Mastodon, I can go in and just follow Jimmy at pixelfed.com. And all of his images, although he's posting them on PixelFed, all those show up in my Mastodon feed. Pretty cool. So now let's imagine a world where Instagram's Threads, I shouldn't say Instagram, Threads by Instagram, whatever, is an ActivityPub instance. So you're posting all your text-based stuff, your Instagram images, whatever. And then say there's another service. Say one day Twitter decides, hey, we're going to be an ActivityPub instance as well. And then you're posting on Threads, you're posting images, whatever. Somebody else on Twitter at, PJB at twitter.com can see PJ Brown at threads.net. And so those things can start to interoperate. And another really cool part of it is, say, let me back up. Those things can interoperate in a way that allows for you to live in a community that has the moderation policies that you want and allows for those rules to exist within your that intranet, that inner network, but also allows you to interact with kind of an outer network. So on something like Mastodon, up until recently, when you were signing up, you had to choose a server. And that was a kind of an overwhelming part, but what it was is you were kind of choosing what community you wanted to belong to. So most people, like I did, you just joined the mastodon.social and you're just in kind of the general community. And that's great. It's a more standard experience. But then you could choose another server that might be specific to journalists or LGBTQ people or people that are just interested in photography or anything like that. And then that gives you the opportunity to engage in people that have similar interests to you or that have similar life experiences to you and not just be bombarded all the time with all the crap that people, the negativity that people might bring that you aren't necessarily looking for. So it kind of gives you the ability to choose who you want to engage with in a much more kind of specific way. And I think that's really exciting. And that's why I'm really excited that Threads is going to be a part of that, because once, it didn't launch with ActivityPub support, but once it's added, it's going to immediately be the largest ActivityPub instance in the world. Mastodon only has, tens of thousands of users, if that, maybe 1 million. Threads, again, hit 70 million in under 3 days. So it's, not really comparable in that term, which is cool. I think, again, there's something to be said for the scale of Meta, the scale of Facebook, and even, this wasn't, it's not like they pushed this in the native Instagram app and we're telling you, hey, go download this app. Most of this was all from not word of mouth, but people talking, some word of mouth, but a lot of it, people sharing their threads in Instagram stories and then people seeing them there and then kind of being, oh, what is this? And then kind of go from there. It's been really cool to see, as I go into, to the search, which needs a lot of work. But as you refresh in search, it'll suggest accounts for you, and a lot of times it'll suggest celebrities and brands and things like that. But as you can kind of go through, it'll suggest more of the ones that you actually already follow on Instagram. And it's like, oh, these people have joined, and you can kind of see them joining over the couple days. And I think that's been pretty cool. There's been a lot of people that I went ahead and followed. I didn't do like the follow all of my Instagram friends or whatever. I kind of wanted something of a fresh start, and but went through and followed like a lot of my like close friends that I knew. If they joined, then obviously I want to be following them. And it's been cool. You get a notification like, hey, this person that you followed, they joined Threads, and now you're following them. So I think that's pretty cool. I like that there was some like kind of base level integration between the existing social graph on Instagram and what they're building out with Threads. I like that they show they kind of have that little badge that shows what number of Threads user you were. And I'm not gonna lie, I'm pretty proud that I got in under the 200,000 mark. So I'm number 193512. So just under the 200,000 mark, which cool. I was very when it launched, I was like refreshing and all that. So I wish I was even lower than that, but I know they had a lot of people that were using it beforehand. Probably, I'm just almost 10 to 20,000 people that probably had access. I saw like iJustine was like 1,500 or all that kind of stuff, which is gonna be cool a couple years down the line if Threads survives to be able to say I was user number 100,000 or whatever. I was user number 100. I guess that's probably Meta or Instagram employees that are that low. But anyway, I think it's kind of cool. I have somewhat of a running list of what they need to improve. One being proper iPad support. This is atrocious. Any app that launches in 2023 that doesn't have iPad support should be rejected from the App Store. I stand by that, and I mean that. It is just wholly unacceptable to create an application for iOS or Android and not have the proper scaling for iPad apps. Or tablets in general. Or I'm going to get into what needs to be fixed, but I'm going to say the first two things that need to be fixed with Threads are proper iPad support and a web app. It not launching on the web is atrocious. It's bad. It drives me nuts. But the things that I have, even in vertical, it's just not good. Ugh. Okay. But what I've got for what needs to be improved: running list of Threads feature requests, GIF integration in posts needs that. It's got right now the only thing you can do in posts. It doesn't even have like a location, which I guess maybe that's another thing. GIF integration and location tagging in posts. Right now you can attach images and videos, works well, and you can like copy and paste or attach a GIF or GIF. I think it's actually GIF. I'm pretty sure the creator of the format said GIF, so I'm going to say GIF. So you can attach or copy paste a GIF from like Giphy or something like that. Is it Jiffy? From Giphy into there, and it works great. It works like you would expect it to, but I wish there was like an integrated GIF search in there, which another one of those things that, that feature exists in Instagram stories and all that kind of stuff, and shouldn't be the most difficult thing to kind of bring over, but it definitely should have the ability to just search and add GIFs in there. And I think there's a lot of people that really like to add those into their posts, and that might be preventing them from engaging quite as much. So I think that's kind of a must. I've got sharing Instagram posts natively to Threads. I put that on there before my dumb brain looked around more and saw that it already exists, and it works well, really well actually. I really enjoy sharing Threads over to Instagram as a story. Actually, it really works well. Web app, how is that not here during launch? No clue. It really should be. Proper iPad OS app. Again, Instagram has been around for over a decade. It does not have an iOS app. It is, um, again, I don't, and I've heard Adam Mosseri and other Instagram people kind of saying that they don't think that like users want it, but it doesn't make any sense. Instagram at least has a web app and it's pretty good. It works well. That can easily be ported to an iPad OS app. I can't imagine that there's a resource limitation or lack of developers that could do it. I bet they could do it in a week if they really wanted to. So that's very frustrating that it didn't launch with a web app. It's very frustrating that it didn't launch with a web app or a proper iPad OS app. Very frustrating that 10 years in, Instagram doesn't have a proper iOS or iPad OS app. I genuinely don't understand it. Chronological and follower only feeds. Right now, they just have the algorithmic based feed. It seems to have been getting a little better as I've been engaging with people and with following more people and all that kind of stuff. You see a lot of like your followers' responses to accounts that you don't follow, and I've talked to a couple people that have been frustrated by this, but I think for an app launching right now, what they're trying to do is get you to follow a lot of people and find accounts to follow and things like that. It's not necessarily, it's in kind of a weird place. It's not necessarily designed, or I'm sure they don't necessarily intend for it to just be all consumption right now. A lot of it is exploration and engagement. And so I'm betting that, and I think Adam Mosseri even said this, like, yeah, the intention is for new accounts and people that we think you might find interesting to surface regularly. Then you follow them or don't. And then that's a data point and that's a signal for them. And then, it'll adjust accordingly. But the intention is to eventually turn on your like a followers only and chronological timeline. I'm wondering if like on Instagram, if they'll do excuse me, if they just give you the option kind of in the top left corner to go to your following in chronological, or I don't even remember what else they call it. What is it? It's following, or favorites. So hopefully that rolls out soon, because I think that would that'd make a lot of people happy. I think it would make a lot of people's experience a lot better, mine included. I've followed a lot of people and very much feel like that's the best way to consume that kind of stuff. Especially, I hate seeing like posted things and it'd be like, oh, it was posted 2 days ago. It's like, well, I don't care about that right now. So I think that'll be helpful. Use your curated list. That's one of the main ways that I engage in Twitter right now, is with lists. Spend a lot of time curating with, trusted sources and interesting people that talk about specific topics. Like I was saying, I have, lists I have a technology list that I kind of swear by. It's got a ton of different, like a diverse group of technology reporters and knowledgeable people in that space. Read that regularly. So I need something like that. Something comparable to that on Threads to kind of, get over that hump. And then sports, I have one for Alabama football, for college recruiting. And the college recruiting one, it's cool because, people can follow it, and then they can, I'll add people, or they can say, hey, what about this person? And that builds a little bit of a community there. So I think that those types of features, having curated lists, would be a pretty big deal, and a nice feature. And even more to that is having kind of a TweetDeck like experience on the web in some way, kind of, thread deck. And that would be pretty awesome. And having a full kind of web app that was really functional like that. Um, that would that would be very cool. What was I about to say? Either way, yeah, just being able to view those in like a column format, swiping between them. I'd be a big fan of that. I've got live audio and video on here. I don't know. I think those are probably down the line type things. I very much feel like as the integration, well, not even. I think they're gonna Instagram and Threads are gonna continue to kind of tie closer and closer together. Like right now, it's kind of a one way street. You can share Threads to Instagram. You can't share Instagram to Threads, but Instagram already has live video built in and a lot of those kind of things. So I could see a way where you could start a live video on Instagram and then just share it to Threads, and it's accessible in kind of both places. So I don't see why that wouldn't be a thing. Um, um, so I don't know that that's going to be kind of one of their priorities. I think they're going to focus on other features and um, maybe lean more on Instagram for live video. Although I don't know, live audio seems to go more with like text based um microblogging, things like that, because it's still, I don't know, text and voice only kind of for some reason go together, and then and video and like images kind of feel like they go together. So I don't know how they'll do that. I don't know if they'll have any sort of live audio offering. They, haven't necessarily shown a lot of want to in that space. Um Sorry, I'm getting distracted by tweets. What else I got in here? DMs. I think DMs is gonna be as important. They've Adam Mosseri was talking about it, and they were like, yeah, we don't know if we're gonna do DMs. That doesn't make a lot of sense to me. I think whatever their idea of not having them right now is going to go away after a few weeks when everybody's like, no, there are certain people that I follow on here that I don't follow on Instagram that I need to talk to, or even people that you follow on Threads and they have a public account on Threads and a private account on Instagram, like me, but you want to talk to them and you can talk to them on Threads. It's different because on my Instagram, my private Instagram, I mainly share pictures of my son and family kind of stuff. On Threads, it's the same username, the same handle. I'm public. I'm not really posting pictures of my son. That's what Instagram's for. So there's a difference between how I'm using those and likely the people that I'm interacting with. And so I think that there should be a separate, inbox for that. The fact that it's got a threads.net tag in your profile, there's a way to pretty easily differentiate that with Instagram. So I think eventually they're going to have to do something with that. It's not going to be, they're not going to be able to just not have DMs if they want real adoption. And then I've got ActivityPub integration. I think that's, I've got it at the bottom of kind of that initial list, but I think it's one of the most important features for kind of the long-term success and excitement and adoption of Threads, is for them to not only integrate ActivityPub, but them to like really get excited about ActivityPub and make other people get excited and interested in what it can do and what it means for a Fediverse as a whole. Let's see, what else did I add? Any chance Threads adds custom domains to user handles? So that's something that it currently exists in Blue Sky that I'm a big fan of, because it adds kind of a second layer of verification without, a Blue subscription where you're just paying for a check, or submitting driver's license and things like that. Domain-based verification. If you own a domain on the web, you own a website, that in and of itself is a way to say, no, this is me. This is my website. this is me. I run this website. This, my company or whatever. And that's also me on here because this is my domain. And the only way that this domain could be here is if I've added a specific piece of code on my domain registrar. So I did that with Blue Sky. Pull that up. Another microblogging competitor of sorts. So as you can see here, I was talking about threads, but right here you see it says at pjb .dad. So this is Blue Sky. My handle on here is just at pjb.dad, which I think is pretty cool. I bought this handle or this domain specifically for use in Blue Sky. But, most Blue Sky users, let's see, surely. Well, TechMeme did it too. So TechMeme, theirs is just techmeme.com. Very cool, right? If I go home and look around, well, a lot of folks are doing it. This person, Paris Marks. So as you can see, theirs is parismarks.bsky.social. bsky.social is the standard domain that accounts use in the same way that on Mastodon, it's at mastodon.social. So the syntax is slightly different in where the at symbol's at and all that kind of stuff. But it's essentially that. It's long form handles that have a little bit more flexibility in uniqueness, but also the .bsky social is because this is a this runs on the AT protocol, which is another open protocol similar to the ActivityPub. So there's kind of two competing, not necessarily even competing. It's not, one's not going to win. They can work together at some point. I bet there will be some form of a bridge that allows those two to interoperate at some point down the line. But I really like the way that they do the domain verification, because having that means that I am the owner of that domain. That is me. This one, and I guess there's kind of where some loopholes are, is because pjb.dad, that's not a website. If you go to that online, nothing comes up. That's just a domain that I own, but I don't have a website plugged into it. So that'll be I don't know, that maybe there's another step they can take from there, but I really like that it allows you to kind of do it at like a custom level. Like I did that all on my own. There was no interacting with support or anything like that, and so I think that's very, very cool, and that is very a unique username, and it allows for that to be me. If other sites do that, then that can be me everywhere, and I think that's pretty cool. So I'll be interested in Threads adding something like that. I think that would be pretty cool, and I think it would get it, if they're gonna add the ActivityPub support down the line, adding that to kind of make it a little bit different than just everybody being threads.net on that instance. I think that'd be cool. So I don't know. We'll see if they ever add it. I kind of feel like they're not going to. Blue Sky is the only one doing it right now, but I do wish it was more widespread. Because I think it just, you can imagine an instance where the New York Times or something had their domain verified, and then all of their reporters were, say Tim at newyorktimes.com, and that was their or at tim.newyorktimes.com, and that was how all of their reporters could be identified, so you knew that person worked for this outlet, and it could all be managed by the news company and not necessarily like on Twitter right now. Their verification process is kind of a back and forth between the support team and the company as a whole, which probably gets very frustrating to get say, oh, we hired somebody, we need this person added to whatever. Being able to manage all that within your own domain, within your own registrar, you don't have to be a webmaster to kind of know how to do all that stuff. It's very, very simple copy and pasting, very, very easy stuff. So that would be cool to see them add, just for kind of another step of verification, although they do have what is it, Meta verified, but it's like $15 a month. So you're essentially, I mean, they do. I'm pretty sure they still do ID based verification, so it is like an actual verification, but like, and there's added benefits, but it's like at $15 a month for that seems kind of ridiculous. Um, Other little things that I had kind of wondered, I don't know if they're necessarily feature improvements or requests, but more um questions in general. What's the character limit? We need a counter. I've since learned that the limit is 500, just like on just the ActivityPub standard is 500. But we still need a counter to know how many we got left, all that kind of stuff. That would be helpful. What is the photo size and video length limit? Also, would love to know that. What if I shoot a video in 4K and post that, is it going to downsize it to 1080? If I have a high res drone image that's 25 megabytes, is it going to downscale that to 5 megabytes? Is there a 5 megabyte limit and it's going to cut me off? What all those types of limitations? What we need, kind of need some specifics there. Again, that could just be tied in with the ActivityPub standard. I don't know what they I keep getting distracted. I don't know if they have that listed publicly anywhere, but I haven't seen it if so. But that would be good information to know. Just what's the size limits. I do like how Threads has kind of like a carousel. It seems like you can post like on Instagram, you can post up to 10 pictures. Or maybe I haven't tried it, but there's definitely more than 4. So I'm interested to see kind of how that kind of continues. But I like the carousel style of like photos viewing that they have, like kind of within the posts. Is there going to be any kind of like long form blogging? I know that it supports 500 characters, but is there going to be a method to kind of tie posts together as a thread, or set those as like a threaded topic, or anything like that? Just anything, even for a subscription or something down the line. Is there going to be a way you could have 1,000, 5,000, 10,000 characters and have essentially long form blogging articles in there? Seems unlikely that would be something they'll add, but would be kind of interesting, and probably get some people that even are on like Medium and other places like that. Maybe they would kind of start to engage with it a little bit more. Hashtags don't work right now on Threads, which I found really odd, because I mean they exist on Instagram. It's a great way to search on Instagram. You can follow hashtags and see kind of everything within that topic or whatever. And so I was really surprised that there were no hashtags, and it's kind of been a thing on like some of the other microblogging competitors. Like, I'm pretty sure on Blue Sky there's no hashtags either, which is, I don't really know how I feel about it. I like using hashtags just so that hopefully it gets a little bit more engagement. Hopefully some other people see it that wouldn't have normally, or for my own preferences. If down the line, if I I want to find this topic I was talking about, let's just search that hashtag and see what all I said. I don't know. I was just surprised that it wasn't there. It seems like a pretty basic, like bare bones kind of feature for this type of product. Again, especially since Instagram has kind of put a lot of emphasis on it over the last couple years in terms of following topics and all that kind of stuff, and using them within posts and multiples, and showing you how many other posts are using that hashtag and all that kind of stuff. I'm a little surprised that it's not there, but it definitely will be there at some point. I'm pretty sure Adam Mosseri said like, yeah, it's coming. But and that's one other thing, is I love how Adam Mosseri and Zuck are like all over Threads, as you would expect them to be, but they're engaging with people. They are talking about new features coming out, not talking about how much they understand that, like, yeah, this is obviously not like a fully baked product. This was somewhat rushed out to kind of beat the rush of people that were upset with other platforms. So I really like their kind of momentum and the kind of momentum that they're bringing forward, and the enthusiasm that they kind of have for it. I think Zuck especially has a lot of enthusiasm for it. Um, it's it's wild that Zuck's kind of bar for a successful product is a billion users, and that they're gonna get a billion users on like whatever else they roll out. Um, because that, when they were talking about ads, I think Zuck and Maseri were talking about like when they're gonna start trying to monetize and bring ads, and kind of in the same way they did with Instagram. They're like, we're not even gonna think about that until we have a billion users, and that's a wild business strategy, but it's even wilder how often it works. I mean, I think Instagram has what, 2 billion users. Let's see what Instagram MAUs. 2.35 billion for monthly active users on Instagram. That's nuts. There's 8 billion people in the world. A fourth of them one out of every 4 people use Instagram every day. Just to, let me switch over so you can see that. Let's see Twitter. Doesn't even still around 300 million. December 368. That's probably dropped 300 million. And that's kind of been their MAUs for 10 years, 7 years, something like that. And I don't think that Twitter really does. I don't think that's how they count things. Which is fine. Whatever. Facebook's got to be, see, 269 million. Oh, that's in the United States. 2.9, almost 3 billion people use Facebook monthly. I mean, that is insane. So that just shows the scale that Threads can have, which is why I think it's gonna be pretty tough for it to like fail. It might not kill Twitter. I don't know that anything will fully kill Twitter. I don't think that it should die. I mean, that's not what should happen. I think competition forces innovation, and I hope that. Look, I don't think that Elon has felt any pressure from the likes of Mastodon, of Blue Sky, of T2, which is literally a Twitter clone. Twitter, they don't care. That has not scared them one bit. Threads has scared Elon. I'm very convinced that it has. The way that he has been talking about it on Twitter, seemingly trying to kind of like downplay it and make it seem like it's nothing, just shows how kind of scared he is. I saw him tweet yesterday that it's just Instagram without pics, and that's why he shouldn't be worried. That's what Twitter is. I mean, this product Threads is being compared to Twitter at every turn, and he downplays it as Instagram without pics. That's what Twitter has been forever. So I don't know his attitude about this. And him suing them and saying that they're stealing and all this kind of crap is it kind of reeks of fear and desperation, and it's not a good look for a guy who paid 3 times what the company was valued at, and then got pissy about it. Let's not forget that Twitter is currently valued at about $15 billion, and Elon paid $44 billion for it because he thought it was a joke and he wanted to pay a funny stock price. 54.20. He wanted, $4.20. Yeah, it made you pay $44 billion, and the company's no longer worth anything close to that. It wasn't even worth that when he bought it, but it was worth more than it is now. Um, so I do hope that from all of this comes a better overall kind of environment. I hope that Threads pushes Instagram to be better, and I hope that the increased um, in kind of passion over on Threads and the increase in user base continues to grow. I hope that they continue to add features. They've got to add a bunch of features quickly. They've got to add a website. They've got to add a proper iPad OS app. They've got to add hashtags. They've got to add multiple accounts. That was one other thing I forgot to mention. All of these Instagram accounts, Instagram has been really, really good about multiple accounts for the last few years, essentially allowing it to be easy to switch from your personal account to your business account to your Finsta account or whatever. But now the design of Threads is such that every Instagram account can just kind of be turned into a Threads account. But if you can't switch between them on Threads, then half of those accounts are never really going to get turned on because I'm not going to log out and log in to another account. So there needs to be multiple account switching like there is on pretty much every platform. And they got to know that. A lot of these things I've got to believe that they're fully aware of. They're not dumb. They're some brilliant engineers and business people. I even saw a thread of one of the main Instagram developers working on Threads posted like the second, I guess it was either yesterday or Thursday, and said, we haven't even released the cool stuff yet. And that got me really excited. Because again, Threads it's very clearly, it feels very obviously a bare bones minimum viable product, MVP, that they wanted to get out the door to start getting people excited. And that is exactly what they've done. I think that they're going to become the quickest app to ever hit 100 million users, which is a record that ChatGPT just set like a couple months ago. But it seems like it's not, I don't think it's a matter of if, but when. They're at 70 million 3 days in. They're going to hit 100 million in the next, by the end of the weekend, probably. So it's just really interesting. And again, I think it's one of the more exciting times in like social networking as a whole that we haven't necessarily seen in a really long time. 2013, 2014, I think there was some exciting stuff happening. Instagram was really kind of growing big, and Snapchat was kind of taking off, and all these kind of little things. But I don't know that we've had a moment like Threads since Instagram or Snapchat like launched. Those were in the same light of just like catching wildfire. And even then, Snapchat launched on iPhone way before Android. So at least with this, there wasn't that. It was iOS and Android the same day. Not, but it kind of skipped the web. That frustrates me, I think, more than most people, because I spend so much time sitting at a desktop, whereas most people don't really use desktops quite as much, except for like work specific. But like I'm at my desk. If I'm not with my son, I'm pretty much here. So I would love for those kind of features to be a main priority. They are a priority for me. I doubt they're a priority for the Threads team. But I'll be honest. I love Threads. I've been using it a ton. I am very excited with all the people that I've seen joining and kind of been able to engage with them. Again, there's a lot of people that, for whatever reason, either missed or didn't feel the need to like get on Twitter and engage over there. It sure seems like Threads has been an easier thing to kind of pick up and do with and not feel as like, I don't know, maybe not feel like, oh, this is a different social network. It's just, they're just saying, oh, it's an extension of Instagram. And I think that's probably how Instagram wants people to think about it, to a degree, because they do want, I think they do want that type of engagement to be different as you're, talking with other people and brands and things like that differently than you might when you're posting pictures and stuff. So I think that is going to be very interesting. And been rambling for an hour, but I'm very excited about it. I hope that the excitement of other people kind of continues around it. I hope that Twitter doesn't. I hope that Elon doesn't get like so salty and just like spicy and mad about it. I hope that it's more. I hope this kind of inspires him to like put his head down and roll out some meaningful features to Twitter and make the overall experience better, and not just like continue trying to make money with every single thing. I get it. I get the business needs to make money. That's not what I'm saying. I'm not saying he needs to do things for free or anything like that, but it just seems like everything he's doing is kind of creating something and then forcing it behind a paywall to just get a couple extra bucks because he's trying to scramble because he spent way too much money on this thing. He bought a house without doing an inspection, and then he tried to back out when he found out all the pipes needed to be replaced, and he already signed the contract. So he's trying to recoup some of that for sure. But I think there are a lot of things that he could do to make the experience better, and I'm hoping that pressure from the likes of Threads and Blue Sky, especially, I think Threads and Blue Sky have, I think those are the two to kind of keep an eye on to watch. And again, I don't think Twitter's going anywhere. So I think 2023 is going to be a fun year for social networking, open protocols, especially. I think there's going to be a lot of really fun stuff as ActivityPub and the AT protocol continue to grow. I'm excited about it. I'm gonna be talking a lot about it. I think I've bored enough people, like in my family and circle that I've seen with all this stuff, and they're probably like, "Yo, I don't care. Just let me get the app." But again, very exciting times. I hope everybody's at least checking Threads out, see if it's something they want to take part in. On Threads, my username is the same as my Twitter and Instagram handle at PJ_Brown_III. PJ Brown the third. So check me out over there. I've been posting a ton, probably more on there than I have on Twitter lately. We'll kind of see how that goes as football season gets closer. Again, if they don't have a web app, the ability to post on web and things like that by football season, it's gonna be tough to use it as much. But either way, I think that's gonna do it for me. A little over an hour. My son's taking a good nap and let me get all the chats in. Hope everybody has a great weekend, and I hope everybody checks out Threads. I hope everybody's engaging in whatever social media platforms they choose to engage in. I will be on Threads and Twitter and Blue Sky quite a bit, and hopefully we'll be able to do some more live streaming soon. This was a fun one. I enjoyed rambling about this. I had fun doing this, and hopefully I get to do it again soon. So, again, hope y'all have a great weekend. Everybody has a great rest of the summer. I don't know how to sign off. It's hot, and